Hello, it's me Harley, backest again for yet another video, and today I'm going to be covering a topic which, it's hard for me to talk about. In fact, it might even show itself a little bit. That is the fact that I sometimes get a stutter. It's not a constant thing, however, it's something that I haven't had for a terribly long time. I certainly didn't have it as a kid, and I pretty much know exactly when I started developing my stutter. There are certain situations which trigger it, which I'm going to be talking about, which is the main reason why it might turn up during the video. I'm learning how to deal with it in certain ways even now. I'm finding new triggers that are starting to turn up which prompt it. So, such fun. The reason why I thought to do this video was because of my last one, which was about dance communities and the Cuties Netflix show thing. I started getting a bit of a stutter in that video. In fact, I think I actually apologised for it. I decided I'd talk to you guys about it and share how it's affected me. As I said, I haven't had a stutter for an incredibly long time. However, I do know around the time that it started to develop. In fact, I've talked about the situation which prompted it to happen on my YouTube channel before, and that's my Beecham experience. Oh God. It's really hard for me to talk about that experience, and in the video I think you can see that I'm finding it very hard to talk about. Not just because it's a difficult topic, but because I'm also trying to control my speech so I don't stutter. Obviously because those videos are edited, I can remove the majority of the stuttering, so it may not be absolutely obvious. Before 2017, I didn't have a stutter at all. Even when I was talking about like situations where I'd been bullied, I didn't stutter. If I talked about traumatic events, I didn't stutter. However, after the horrible experiences I had with my school and the way they treated me, I began to stutter. Now, it didn't start straight away after the traumatic event. It didn't start after the lockdown and the police and all that. In fact, the police were very nice to me, so I wasn't stuttering when the lockdown occurred. It was stressful and I talked a lot and I rambled a lot, but I didn't really stutter. However, I was treated terribly by the school afterwards. They encouraged people to essentially bully me. The school positively endorsed it, basically. They didn't give any consequences to any of the kids who bullied me. If they bullied me, tough. They weren't going to do anything about it. They enforced really horrible conditions. So, for instance, I was not allowed to speak to any other student. No students were allowed to speak to me. I was treated like a criminal every time I went in. I've been over this kind of before, but they searched me when I went in and I had to tell everything that I had in my possession. The person who was with me always had to have a chaperone because I was seen as such a dangerous person, even though I have no history of violence whatsoever. It was all these precautions for no reason at all. I'd been completely cleared by the police and they were saying, she shows no danger. Don't treat her differently. In fact, I had doctors ask the school not to treat me the way they were because it was damaging my mental health. And it was during these very extreme lessons that I had, because I was only allowed one lesson per day. It was between these one lesson, very restricted, horrible condition lessons that I started to develop a stutter. It was really strange and confusing for me. because I'd never experienced this before. Yet there I was, sitting in this closed off room that wasn't really part of the school, with no other students and only a teacher and a chaperone there, after being searched, and on my way to school I'd been spat at in the street and called all sorts of names under the sun that I don't want to go into right now. But I found myself trying to answer questions. If the teacher I had said, "Oh, what's the answer to this?" I'd find myself, I'd find myself stuttering, and I just couldn't stop it, no matter what I did. And so that was my first proper experience with stuttering. I thought it would go away after I left school, because this was an extreme experience, it was an extreme situation, and I had no control over it. So I thought once I had a bit of control back again, that my stutter would go. It didn't. Even today, when I talk about my experiences at Beecham, I find it very, very hard controlling my words. At certain areas, the more distressing the topic, the more distressing the situation, the more I'd stutter. However, it's no longer just in that area. I found it starting to grow in other areas too, because I not only got a lot of bullying in the streets and stuff, I occasionally got the odd prank call. It wasn't often, but it was a couple of prank phone calls. So now, I've always found it hard to speak over the phone, simply because it's a disembodied voice. I can't see the person's face, I can't engage their reaction, I can't tell if what they're saying is sincere or not most of the time. And so now, whenever there's a phone call and I don't know who the person is on the other end, like there's no caller ID telling me who's on the end exactly, I find it very, very hard to even pick up the phone and answer. And when I answer, I hear my stutter coming back. It comes back, and it's horrible. And if it does turn out to be somebody I don't know who they are, oh, it comes back in full force. So that's another area that I've found that triggers my stutter. I've also found that it's not just talking about Beecham experiences that triggers my stutter anymore. It's basically all traumatic, like really traumatic experiences that I've faced now triggers my stutter. Whereas in the past, it didn't matter what the situation was. I could talk about it without worry. And like without, oh geez, we're going into psychology there, why did I choose that word? I could talk about it without stuttering. Oh god, there must be something, that's now bugging me now, because why did I choose the word worry? Because that wasn't what I was intending. That's my subconscious taking over there a little bit. Oh, sorry, stop fiddling with my beads. Hello, Dad.
Hello.
I'm just talking about how I've developed a stutter since Beecham.
Oh, I'm surprised you only developed a stutter for the treatment you received at that bloody place.
You know I've developed other mental health issues because of that, but yeah, no. I'm specifically talking about my stutter at the moment. I'm trying to think about other situations. I think there's about one or two other small things that trigger it now. Generally, if I notice myself starting to stutter, I can get it under control.
Yeah.
Oh, are you listening now?
Yeah.
What do you think about it, Dad?
What about you stuttering?
Yeah. What do you think about my stutter?
Well, obviously down to Beecham, they're responsible for a huge number of things.
Yeah. It's just, I'm still coming to terms with how to deal with it. I know I shouldn't be like ashamed to have a stutter, especially when talking about traumatic experiences, but I always feel ashamed of it. So this video is going to be quite hard. I don't know what else to say. I suppose I just wanted to share that that's part of my life now. And although I'm dealing with it, sometimes it comes up. So in the future, if I do a video on a hard topic and I start to stutter, well, that's because I'm a stutterer. Only on a minor scale, but it's something I'm still not used to. Now I've shared that with you, I'm going to say toodle pip old beans, and see you next time. Bye!